I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play. Basketball for me was the most important thing. I had a kill list, and I'd play to my weakness. In the NBA, it was actually easier. There's a lot of guys played for financial stability. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be like taking candy from a baby. No wonder Mike wins all these fucking championships. A lot of players take vacations with other players that are close friends. I never did that. When I retired, I didn't want to have to say, I wish I would have done more. Okay, I shot 5 air balls on national TV in front of millions of people that cost us the series. I'm fine, dude. You kind of got to get over yourself. Like, it's not about you, man. Like, I don't deal with people that don't commit at that level, but then act as if they do. You want first place, come play with me. You want second place, go somewhere else. I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play. And anything else that was outside of that lane, I didn't have time for.
At what age did that goal become crystal clear?
I made that deal with myself at 13 years old.
At 13 years old?
13 years old. That's the deal I made.
You were crystal clear about it?
Crystal clear.
And where did inspiration come from?
The love of the game. The love of the game, the challenge. Like, I would watch Magic play, I'd watch Michael play, and I would see them do these unbelievable things, and I'd say, you know, can I get to that level? I don't know, but let's find out. Let's find out. And so that curiosity to see where I could push this thing led me down that path, I think.
Led you down that path?
I think so.
Now, were you always competitive from the day you were born? You were super competitive?
Competitive with things that I participate in. You know, basketball for me was the most important thing. So everything I saw, whether it was TV shows, whether it was books I read, people I talked to, everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything, everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft. Years old, I had a I had a kill list. And so, you know, they used to do these rankings. It was Street and Smith basketball rankings. And I was nowhere to be found because I was like 6'4", scrawny, like 160 pounds soaking wet. So I was like 57 on the list. And so I would look at 56, 55, all the way up to number 1, who these players are, what club teams they played for. So when we go on an AAU travel circuit, I got to hunt them down, right? And so that became my mission in high school, is to check off every other person, all those 56 other names, hunt them down and knock them down. When I'd play to my weaknesses. I wouldn't play to my strengths. I play to my weaknesses. Because when you're playing summer basketball, there's so many games. So there's not a lot of skill work being done. So when are you going to get better? Right? When you're playing in competition situations, you're only playing to your strengths. Why? Because you want to win. Right? So what I would do, I was work on the things during those games that I was weak at. Left hand, pull-up jump shot, post game. Right? So I have a strategy. And so then fast forward to when I'm 17 and my game is completely well-rounded, and that player at 13 that I saw at 13 is still doing the same shit at 17, now you got a problem. It was actually easier because what I found in the NBA is a lot of guys played for financial stability. And when they came to the NBA, they got that financial stability, so therefore the passion and the work ethic and the obsessiveness was gone. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be like taking candy from a baby. No wonder Mike wins all these fucking championships. You had the players that had that passion, but weren't willing to commit their entire lives to doing that, right? It's a choice, right? You have other things. You have family. You have all these other things that you have to do. The game can't really be your #1 priority. And so I was just looking at that like, man, this is gonna be fun. A lot of players take vacations with other players that are close friends. And we'll just take vacations just to take vacations, or just hang out just to hang out. Like I never did that. But it was a choice.
Not though? Why didn't you do that?
Well, because when I retired, I didn't want to have to say, I wish I would have done more. I don't want that.
How did you get mentally and emotionally so strong where it doesn't bother you?
Well, you got to look at the reality of the situation. Like for me, it's not, you kind of got to get over yourself. Like, it's not about you, man. Like, okay, you feel embarrassed. You're not that important. Like, get over yourself.
That's where you go.
Get over yourself, right? Like, you're worried about how people may perceive you, and like you're walking around and it's embarrassing because you shot 5 air balls. Get over yourself, right? And then after that, it's okay, well, why did those air balls happen? Got it. High school, year before, we played 35 games, max, right? Week in between, spaced out, plenty of time to rest. In the NBA, it's back to back to back to back to back to back to back. I didn't have the legs. So you look at the shot, every shot was online. Every shot was online, but every shot was short, right? I got to get stronger. I got to train differently. The weight training program that I'm doing, I got to tailor it for an 82-game season so that when the playoffs come around, my legs are stronger and that ball gets there. So I look at it with rationale and say, okay, well, the reason why I shot air balls is because my legs aren't there. I go, well, next year they'll be there. That was it.
Done.
Done.
He said nobody in his history of coaching had your level of work ethic. I mean, you hear so many guys tell stories about your work ethic.
Yeah.
What was really your work ethic like, and for how long did you stay disciplined?
Well, I mean, every day. I mean, since, for 20 years. I mean, it was an everyday process and trying to figure out strengths and weaknesses. For example, jumping ability. Man, my vertical was a 40. It wasn't a 46 or a 45. My hands are big, but they're not massive, right? So you got to figure out ways to strengthen them so your hands are strong enough to be able to palm a ball and do the things that you need to do. Quickness, I was quick, but not insanely quick. I was fast, but not ridiculously fast, right? So I had to rely on skill a lot more. I had to rely on angles a lot more. I had to study the game a lot more. And but I enjoyed it though. So like from the time I can remember when I started watching the game, I studied the game, and it just never changed.
Who would Shaq be if he had your work ethic?
He'd be the greatest of all time, for sure. I mean, this guy was a force like I have never seen. I mean, it was crazy. A guy at that size, generally guys at that size are a little timid and they don't want to be tall. They don't want to be big. Man, this dude he did not care. He was mean. He was nasty. He was competitive. He was vindictive. I mean, I wish he was in the gym. I would have had fucking 12 rings. I don't deal with people that don't commit at that level, but then act as if they do. I don't deal with that. I don't. It's real shit. I mean, listen. So, like, we used to get into stuff all the time because it was like, he would say, okay, Kobe's not throwing me the ball. And, media would take it and run with it and all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, bruh, if you were in shape, by the time I run down on a fast break and run back, and then run down, you're still coming down the first time, bruh. Like, what the hell do you want me to do? Right? So a lot of our contention came from that. Hey, I'm open. Okay. There you go. Come back in. Hey, dude, you got to throw me the ball. I said, man, fuck that. Get it off the rebound if I miss, bro.
You told him this. First year.
18 years old, man. 18 years old. And I must have been out of my damn mind.
What's your process for making a decision? Do you have a flow of how you go through making a decision?
Depends on the decision. Depends on the decision. If we're talking about, a basketball decision where, you've got to, read a certain coverage or something like that, I mean, a lot of that comes from the pre-work and understanding what their defensive package is and how to put teammates in certain situations. So, for example, if you look at players nowadays that are charged with taking game-winning shots or making game-winning decisions. And you look at the play, and then you look at it and say, okay, well, that shooter was there, the double team came, and, the player couldn't do anything but pass the ball, right? Well, that's because they didn't do the pre-work, right? So when you do the pre-work, you understand, okay, this team in this situation likes to run a double team from this particular angle. All right, so I'm going to clear that side out, force the double team to come from a different angle, move myself to a space on the floor where it's going to take a long time for the double team to come, and now I can circumvent the double team and get to a place on the floor where I can knock down a shot or get to the basket. So it's all that pre-work. And if this was a game, you'd suck it up and play. I played games with the flu. I played games with 102-degree fever, man.
Powerful.
You can't do that.
That
you
is
can't,
so powerful,
right?
man.
You got to be on, man.
That's
You got a lot of people paying their hard-earned money to come watch you perform. Perform. It's your job to be in shape. It's your job to be strong enough to perform at that level every single night. And as a competitor, I'm not ducking shit. Like, it's not, oh my God, my back hurts, I'm sore. We got to play Vince Carter and Toronto Raptors tonight. We actually had this happen. We had a game against Toronto in 2000, and Vince was tearing the league up. My back was jacked. But like the perception of that, like what? Kobe's missing the game against Toronto and Vince Carter because my back was really spasming. But people will be like, what? Oh, he's ducking Vince. Excuse me? No, I don't think so. So I would be in the layup line like, okay, there's a lot of days where you can rest and recover. Today ain't one of them. Your back can bother you any other day. That shit ain't bothering me today.
Wow.
He gonna have to see me today.
You're an alpha. You have a very strong personality, extremely strong personality. And then you got a team with Shaq, and then you got a team with Phil Jackson, and you guys are all working together. How was it taking coaching from an alpha and you're an alpha? And was there a progression of you finally understanding him or him understanding you? What did that look like, the relation between you and Phil?
No, at first it was rocky, but I didn't understand it was rocky. And let me elaborate. I was extremely naive. And with Phil and his genius, his responsibility was to get the team to a place to win titles. It wasn't to appease one player. It wasn't to look out for this player. It was to get the collective whole to win a championship. So he would do whatever it took to make sure that happened. He would see the friction between myself and Shaquille and say, okay, how can I use that? All right, I know Kobe has a passion to play, so come hell or high water, doesn't matter what's going on in his personal life, doesn't matter what's happening here with the team, he's gonna show up and perform no matter what. Shaq is more emotional. If something's going on, he won't. So therefore, I gotta figure out how to create a wedge between myself and Kobe because then that brings me closer to Shaquille. And then that helps me better manage Shaq. So that was his ability to manage the team, which was absolutely brilliant. I used to tell him all the time, I said, Phil, look, I know what you're doing, bro. Like, don't insult my intelligence. I know you're being a dick to me on purpose. Like, just, like, tell me. No? Okay, you're gonna stay with it? All right, cool. All right.
You're playing against the Golden State Warriors. Score is 107-109. You guys are close to getting into the playoffs. You know exactly what happens in the game. You go up. You're about to take your shot, and then all of a sudden, boom, Achilles happens, right? Friend of mine, Nima, he is here just to listen to. He played ball. And he told me, he says, Patrick, I don't think you understand. He says, when I tore my Achilles in high school, he says, 4 friends of mine dragged me to my hospital. I was crying from there straight to the hospital. He says, I have no clue how the hell this guy did it. He went and hit the free throws, and then you walked off the stage, and then you got the surgery done.
Yeah.
How the hell do you tolerate that kind of pain?
I use this. I tell this example, and I think this is the best way to explain it. You have a hamstring injury. You pull your hamstring really, really badly. You can barely walk, right? Let alone play anything. Soccer, basketball, volleyball, whatever it is. Can't do anything. Doctor tells you go home, sit up on the couch, rest your hammy, right? Stay off of it, don't get up, no sudden movements. You're at home, all of a sudden a fire breaks out in the home, right? Your kids are upstairs, wife is wherever she may be, shit's going down, right? I'm willing to bet that you're going to forget about your hamstring, you're going to sprint upstairs, you're going to grab your kids, you're going to make sure your wife's good, you're getting out of that house, right? Hamstring be damned. You're not going to feel your hamstring, right? And the reason is because the lives of your family are more important than the injury of your hamstring. And so when the game is more important than the injury itself, you don't feel that damn injury. Not at that time. I was thinking like, I don't know if I can do this. Dude,
Wow.
Achilles were like the kiss of death
Yes.
for athletes. Like,
Yes.
I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. There's so many factors. There's the surgery that has to take place. The surgery has to go well, right? And then just, it's a tendon. I'm not dealing with anything that's muscular or things that I can control. I can't control a tendon. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know. And then thinking about what that process of recovery is going to look like. It's a long one. Do I want to do that shit? I don't know if I want to do it. I don't know. So that was the hardest part.
You don't know if you want to do it, or you don't know if you are going to be able to come back from it?
Both.
Oh,
Like, I
both
don't know
of
if I can do it. I don't know if I want to do it.
Got it.
I mean, it's a long
Yes.
process. But like, when I went in the trainer's room, my kids are in there, and you know they're looking at you and stuff, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, you know, it's all right. Dad's gonna be all right. It'll be fine. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. As a parent, you gotta set the example. You gotta set the example. This is another obstacle. This obstacle cannot define me. It's not gonna cripple me. It's not gonna be responsible for me stepping away for the game that I love. I'm gonna step away on my own terms. And that's when the decision was made that, you know what, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Yeah, you gotta lead by example. As parents, you gotta lead by example. If you want your kids to do whatever it is they wanna accomplish in life, you have to show them. You can't, you gotta show them. And that's what I tried to do.
How did you get your mindset into this alter ego to be comfortable being Black Mamba? Like, how did that happen?
It's a good separation for me, you know, emotionally, to be able to put myself in a place where at practice or when I'm training or during games, I switch my mind to something else. I switch my mode into something else, right? For me, it's the equivalent of Maximus Decimus Meridius in Gladiator picking up the dirt, smelling the dirt. It's go time, right? So that was my mental switch. It was like an actor getting ready for a film. You got to put yourself in that cage. When you're in that cage, you are that character. And then when you leave there, it's something completely different. But when I'm in that cage, bro, don't fucking touch me. Don't talk to me. Just leave me alone.
So you leave them alone, kind of like Phil left you guys alone to do.
I'm not going to hire you to tell you how to do your job.
Got it. So recruiting. Obviously, in the league, you were known as a great recruiter. So what is your recruiting approach? So if you're sitting down with me, I'm somebody you really want me on the team. What's your approach to recruit me?
You want first place, come play with me. You want second place, go somewhere else.